Some time after getting my job at Walmart in 2008, I was looking for ways to make some extra money. So, I started to list some things on Craigslist to sell. I listed my first generation iPhone for sale and received quite a bit of calls about it. One girl offered me a little more than I asked for if I would meet with her that day to sell it to her. Being that I was looking to make some extra money, I agreed. We spoke on the phone and then agreed on a time and place to meet. Fast forward a few hours later, at about 7 p.m., I went to the place she told me she wanted to meet me at. No one was in the parking lot. We agreed to meet at a public place with lots of people, and I honestly didn't know the area too well. I started to feel a little off about this transaction. It was a few cities over from where I lived. Initially I refused, but I just kept thinking that I could really use the extra money at this point. I stupidly let her choose a place because talking to her, I got the vibe that she was a good person. I use that term loosely, so I trusted her judgment, believing that another woman could not do anything to me. She calls me after I had waited for her for about 25 minutes and tells me that her car broke down a few blocks away, but she was still completely interested in buying my iPhone. I asked her for the directions and drove to meet her. By the time I made it to where she told me she was, it had gotten dark. Naturally, I felt weird about meeting her, but again, I was desperate for extra cash at this point. I sat there in my car with the windows rolled up, looking for a broken down car. There was none in sight. I got scared and said, "Fuck it, I'm leaving." And up walks this tall skinny girl and a short stocky girl. "Hey, are you Hannah?" I said, "Yes, hey, BB?" "Yes, this is my friend Margot. Can I see the phone?" "Sure." I take the phone and show it to her and tell her that it works great and that I'm only selling it because of an emergency. All of the sudden, someone hits me in my face. I was disoriented for a moment and confused to what happened. Then I see BB and Margot running away with my phone. I was pissed beyond belief, but not because they stole the phone, because she hit me. To give you some background about me, I am a former kickboxer, and I am a pretty thick girl, but I take no shit, especially if you hit me. So I ran after those bitches and ended up catching the thicker girl. I grabbed her by her hair and rammed her head into my knee and proceeded to beat the fuck out of her. BB comes back as I am on top of Margot, trying to pull me off, but being that I was kickboxing heavily at this time, I was able to keep Margot beneath me by kicking her under her arms and ribs with my knees to keep her down. BB screams, "Get up, you bitch!" and starts to wail on me with the most weakest punches ever. Blood is literally everywhere. Margot's face was nearly unrecognizable when I was done with her. She had already dropped my phone, but I was enraged because she hit me. I get up off of her and they start to run off, basically with their tails between their legs. I got my phone back, along with a headache from that punch. I called the police to report what happened and found that it was actually a rock she hit me with, a 10-pound rock to be exact. I went to the emergency room to treat my wound, but nothing has become of it to this day. After that, I ended up getting robbed at gunpoint for my iPhone on Craigslist. You would think after the first incident I would be done with Craigslist, but what could I say? I just hoped it wouldn't be as bad as the first. Obviously, I was wrong.
This happened about a year ago now. I'm a college student and I was basically forced to move out on my own, which I didn't mind, but that meant finding a new roommate, which can be daunting and a scary experience. I've had a few weird encounters, but I think this one takes the cake. I posted on Craigslist looking for a bedroom in a shared house or apartment for $300 or less, and in my ad I mentioned please no phone calls, only text or email, because I find being on the phone with someone I haven't had a chance to size up is a really uncomfortable situation. I'm just awkward, I guess. Anyway, I got a call from a dude who clearly didn't read the no calls part, which I mentioned because this type of phone call was exactly the reason I don't like to talk to strangers on the phone. At first, he was just pleasant and normal. Told me he had a room available and relevant information like that. We started to talk about when and where we'd meet, and he'd start going on tangents about random stuff. I'm a combination of too interested in deep conversation and too awkward to end the call when it started to get weird. So this call went on for 2 hours, and we talked about the meaning of life and all kinds of weird shit. Honestly, this should have been a red flag, and I shouldn't have met him, and of course I should have grown a pair and told him I needed to leave. So he wants me to meet him at his place and show me the room. I've since learned that you should really insist on meeting in public first. I got to his neighborhood, and it was run down on a level that made the ghetto I grew up in look nice. Saggy front porches, hot cracked concrete, sad people with old beat-up Lincolns. You get the picture. His house blended right in. The yard was seriously overgrown, and the front door didn't work. So I went around to the back, and just looking at the guy standing in the doorway and seeing the kitchen behind him was enough to make me realize I really just wanted to leave. No way in hell. The guy in the doorway was a man with a sort of clown-style afro. He was leaning on a cane on his right side. His eyes looked crazy, and the house smelled musty from 10 feet away. Again, I'm a coward, so instead of trusting my gut, I go inside, and I'm polite, thinking, it's okay, it'll be over in 20 minutes and I can get the fuck out. I don't know what made me think this man who had a 2-hour conversation with me on the phone about life and philosophy would let me get away that easily. He took me up a flight of creaky steps into a small bedroom with no door and a mattress on the floor. I thought no way in hell I would live with a 40-something man, being 19 and a female, and no door in my bedroom. But it was a moot point because my mind was made up before I even saw the room. I wouldn't have lived in there for free, let alone for $200 a month. Things got weird. He tried to hold me hostage with conversation again. I think he was lonely. He talked about how some of his family were millionaires. He might have been delusional. The whole story seemed made up. Then he told me about an 18-year-old girl that has also checked out the room and tried to fuck him, and told me about how his mom hated white people. He was black, I was white, and it sounded like he sympathized with her. Obviously, that was super uncomfortable. Eventually, I was able to find a break in the conversation and plucked up the courage to make an excuse to leave. I was never so happy to leaving a place in my life. I don't know that he was necessarily a rapist or anything, but he really gave me the fucking creeps.
It's 2009, and I'm staying with my parents for the holidays in a small town in Florida. I'm going through my childhood room, cleaning out the closet, and find a giant CD holder full of maybe 100 really shitty CDs. It's the 21st century. No one uses CDs anymore. I figured I'd try to sell the CDs on Craigslist. I put up a listing, 100 CDs from the late 90s and early to mid 2000s, mix of pop and rock, all for $35. The next day, I get an email from a guy named John around 2 p.m. He says that he's in town temporarily and that he wants the CDs. He says he can pick them up after dinner around 8 p.m. I email him back my address and number and tell him to text or call when he's on his way. 8 p.m. comes and goes. I figure I've been stood up, which happens often on Craigslist. No big deal. My dad works for a liquor distribution company and would often do demonstration nights at restaurants and bars. He would come home when the bar closes. This night, he gets home at around 3 a.m. I'm in college and a total night owl, so I'm still up, probably eating junk food, surfing the web, and watching horror flicks. I hear a car pull up, look out the window, and see him sitting in his car eating food. He often stops at Taco Bell on his way home and eats it in his car so my mom doesn't know he's cheating on his diet. Maybe 10 minutes later, my dad comes in and shouts my name. "Jeanette, there is someone here to see you. Can you please tell me why a strange man is showing up at our house at 3 a.m.? I go downstairs, and my dad says some guy pulled up in the driveway asking for me by name. I walk outside with my dad, and this guy, who is maybe mid-30s, gets out of his car. He says he's the Craigslist guy who wanted to buy my CDs. My dad goes back in the house. I tell the guy it's really late to just be stopping by, especially without texting first. However, since I'm awake, I go and grab the CDs. He then proceeds to go on and on about why he's buying the CDs. He says he's engaged to a woman he loves very much, and all he wants to do is make her happy. He said that last week, someone broke into her car and stole all of her CDs. She was really upset, and he wanted to make it up to her. He looked on Craigslist and found my listing. He was really excited because I had a bunch of the CDs she used to have. Weird thing is, I didn't list any of the artists because I was lazy, but I didn't think about it at the time. Anyway, he said he was getting it for her as a Christmas surprise. He said he was staying with his future in-laws somewhere nearby and that their family barbecue ran really late, which is why he never made it at 8 p.m. By this point, I've lost interest and say something along the lines of, "That's sweet. Next time, you should probably call or text the person you are buying from instead of just showing up." I hand him the CDs, he hands me the cash, and I go back inside. 3 days later, I start getting texts from an unknown number. "Hey, I don't know my way around this town. Care to be my tour guide? I could really use a massage. Where can I get a massage in this town? You're Asian, do you do massages? Would you take 40 for a 1-hour massage? Happy ending." Me finally texting back, "Who the fuck is this?" "Oh, sorry, I bought the CDs from you the other day. Do you squirt?" I didn't respond, obviously. I show my friends that night, and we laugh it off. Then the next day, I get more text. "I still have your address. I'm at the Bank of America near your neighborhood. I just got the $40, babe. Only 3 minutes away. Are you home? You fucking cunt. Stop ignoring me. I'm almost there." I immediately ran downstairs to tell my dad and mom. It was nighttime, so we shut off all of the lights outside and inside my house. My mom, little brother, and I went in my parents' room in the back of the house. My dad hid behind the curtains of the front bay window with a shovel in his hand. A few minutes later, I heard him run down the front hallway, fling the front door open, and run outside. We heard some faint shouting, so we all walked out of the bedroom. By that time, my dad came back with his shovel, his face red and his hair all disheveled. Apparently, the guy came driving down our street really slowly. My dad recognized the car and went running outside with the shovel, yelling obscenities at the guy. The guy peeled off and never came back or texted me again.
A few weeks ago, I had to fly out to a small town I'd never been to in order to look for a place to live. I'm moving there in the fall to start grad school. My boyfriend flew with me, and before the trip, I researched all sorts of apartments on Craigslist and set up a bunch of appointments. Our first appointment was in the afternoon, in this sort of remote residential area. The landlord sounded fine over email and asked me to call him an hour before the appointment to confirm I was coming. I called, he didn't answer, so my boyfriend and I started walking to the house and just hoped that he would show up. Maybe 10 minutes before the appointment, he called me. "Are you coming?" he asked. He sounded like an older man and had this very strange, slow way of talking, but I thought that he was just older. "Yes, we're in front of the house now." He got extremely upset. "We?" "Oh yes, my boyfriend's with me." "You never told me you had a boyfriend. You never said that." It had never crossed my mind to tell him this information, since my boyfriend would not be coming to live with me. He was just helping me look for apartments on the trip. I told the man so, and after a very long pause, he said, "I'm sorry, it's just, sometimes people don't tell me when they're married, and it surprises me. I'll see you soon." Then he hung up. I told my boyfriend about what the man had said, and he was immediately weirded out. He wanted to leave, but there were slim pickings in terms of real estate at this point, so I stupidly said that we had to stay, in case this was the place. As we're discussing it, we see a man leave the house we're going to view. The man was young and extremely sketchy looking, greasy hair and furtive eyes. He took one look at us and ran out of the house to his car and pulled away from the curb with a screech. Okay, so we're really weirded out. But this isn't enough for us to bail just yet, and as we look at each other wondering what to do, the landlord arrives. He's in his 50s, very tall and very strong looking. His eyes are completely blank and empty of warmth or emotion. He slowly walks up to us and says, "I'd shake your hands, but mine are dirty." "What from?" my boyfriend asked. "Work," is the flat reply. He asks us a lot of questions about me, completely ignoring my boyfriend. The entire time he stares into my eyes without blinking. What am I going to school for? What other places am I considering for living? Is my boyfriend moving to this town too? I try to give answers that are as vague as possible. Meanwhile, my boyfriend asks the landlord questions of the same kind, which he refuses to answer. Then he says, apropos of nothing, "Let me show you the basement." At this point, I should have noped out of there, but I didn't. I kept thinking this was an eccentric old man from a small town. We're city folk, and that we're just feeling paranoid. My boyfriend, on the other hand, wanted out of there, but he followed us as the man led us to the back of the house, away from the street, to this sort of detached shed. He opened the door and we saw that there were stairs leading down into utter darkness. He flipped the switch at the top of the stairs and the light didn't come on. Normally the response for this is, "Oh shit, the light's out," or something like that, but he just said, and slowly walked down into the darkness. Then he stood there without moving in the dark and said, "Aren't you coming down?" "There's nothing to see if the light's out," says my boyfriend. The landlord just stands there for a long time, then slowly walks up the stairs and closed the basement door without saying anything. He took us to the house. Weird and increasingly creepy things ensued. The front door, the only exit to the house, locked automatically, and when my boyfriend tried to fiddle with it, the man got really upset and told him to leave it alone. He managed to get it open secretly though. The man kept trying to box us into small rooms, according to my boyfriend, kept reaching his hands into his pockets only to take them away when he caught us looking. On the Craigslist ad and in person, the man claimed that there was a grad student already living in the house, but the evidence of that seemed arranged. There were neat piles of generic textbooks on the table, but not other things a 20-something might read. There was a bowl of fruit on the table, but no other food in the fridge or pantry, or utensils. There were maybe 3 t-shirts in the closet. This supposed grad student wasn't out of town, but the landlord couldn't say what school he went to or how long he'd been renting the house. Finally, the man had showed us every single room in the house but one. The one he refused to open, claiming it was just the attic, and we didn't need to see anything up there. He gave us several reasons when we inquired. It was unfinished, there was furniture up there, it would smell bad. The last one I believed, because standing near the door, it smelled terrible. Finally, we made our excuses and bolted out of there. The man walked us out, pretended to go to his car and leave, and when he thought we had turned the corner, slowly sauntered back into the house. My boyfriend, fixated on the idea that there was something wrong with this guy, Googled the man that night. We found out 3 things: that he was a pillar of the community, known by a lot of townspeople, that there was no evidence of him owning or managing a real estate company as he claimed on Craigslist, and that he had listed his home address as the very house we had been touring, the house where the grad student lived. So, that was the creepiest thing that has ever happened to me.
Hey guys, thank you all for watching, and if you like this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the Nightmare Army. I'm always looking for new soldiers in my Nightmare Nation. So, I want to give a big thank you to Mr. Davis for joining me in this video, and if you guys haven't, please check out Mr. Davis. I think he's another very underrated horror narrator. He's very good at what he does, and I especially like his YouTube name. It's very creative. So if you guys haven't, please check him out. I think he's awesome. And just a little health update for you guys, I guess. Apparently I did not have a cold. I had an ear infection. Yeah, apparently an ear infection affects your throat, your sleeping habits, which screwed me up for the past 3 days when I was sick. I slept like complete shit. As you can tell, though, I am feeling better. I went to the doctor like my mom told me to do when I first got sick, but I didn't listen. And I guess that's the moral of the story. Always listen to your mother when you are sick and go to the doctor. But anyways, I am feeling better, but because I got sick and because my videos got pushed back and I couldn't upload on Tuesday, the subscriber submitted story video will be pushed back next week. I'm really sorry about that. It's just me getting sick kind of held me back a little bit. And it's a pretty big project, so I really don't want to rush through it and, have it end up looking like crap and only picking like 4 or 3 stories. I can't do that to you guys. I want to give you guys the best videos I possibly can with a lot of effort put into it. So for that, it's going to be released next week. There will be a video up this Friday. Don't worry about it. The schedule will remain the same next week, thank God. Providing if I don't get sick again. Knock on wood. But I will tell you guys that the Nightmare Army has moved to Facebook. So if you guys want to check out my Facebook page, there's a link right here for you guys. And, well, that's about it, guys. I'll see you in the next video. And just remember, the best ideas always come out of nightmares.